Jorgensen 60.5 low angle adjustable mouth block plane. How do you get curls like this 10 minutes out of the box? That's what we're going to go over today. I will have affiliate links at the bottom, so you can go down there, and if you purchase from those affiliate links, I will get a small kickback, and it will help me to produce more videos. Hope you enjoy. Within the last few years, Pony Jorgensen has come out with 3 modernized hand planes that are extremely affordable. I've seen a lot of videos out there and other tutorials on how to get these things set up and running, but a lot of them go pretty in depth. And these I consider to be, at this point of my experience with them, as to be an excellent entry-level hand plane. So you're probably not going to have a lot of experience with tuning hand planes. Now, all hand planes can benefit from tuning, but right out of the box, there's a few basic things that can be done, and then these can be used. So this is a video speaking about these hand planes, and we're going to work with the Jorgensen No. 60.5 low angle plane. This is the same setup for this as this. This is a little more advanced, and that's the number 4, but they've come out with the mini block plane, which I don't recommend unless you absolutely have a use for this. Then we've got the 60.5 low angle, which is this one here. And I do highly recommend this one. And I also recommend the number 4 for anybody who's getting into handworking, woodworking. So in this video, we're going to cover the number 60.5, and I'm going to show you the basic setup that's required, which is very simple and straightforward. A lot of it is actually in the manual, but there is one part that's missing. So we're going to go over that too. And that is where I think a lot of these other reviewers and people who are talking about these planes go a little too deep for the beginning worker with bevel angles and everything and trying to get that going. So we're going to go ahead and set this little guy up. So basically it comes in a box. Of course, I've already unboxed it. It comes with some instructions, and it's important, especially if you're new to this, to read these instructions and go over the parts of the plane. I'm going to post this image so you'll be able to see that and refer back to it, or just go to Pony Jorgensen's website. You'll be able to download this, I'm sure. So comes boxed like this. It's going to have a little piece of duskin paper in there that's kind of for that, and it's going to have the manual. So this is not an unboxing video. Let's get this out of the way. And basically we've got a small plane here. Now this is a low angle plane. This is an excellent plane for edging and doing a lot of detail work. It has an adjustable mouth, which you loosen this screw here, and allows you to open and close this mouth here to adjust the opening. This is the lever cap. You loosen this large nut here to loosen this lever cap. You pull it back, lift up, and you're able to take that off. This is the blade for the plane. Now these go in this way with the bevel down. This is the bed for the blade. So these do not have a frog. The frog is built in. The frog is like on this traditional plane. It's this section here that adjusts back and forth and holds the blade. So what they tell you in this is you need to sort of clean this up, wipe this down. We're going to prep the, we're going to put a slight bevel on these edges so they don't cut into the work. And one thing that a lot of people are missing, in my opinion, is these blades come from the factory and they are sharp. The one thing that they don't do at the factory is strop this. So basically these edges have a burr and you can feel it. And I'll get a detailed photo of this so you can see what I'm talking about. It's very important that you have a very crisp, clean edge at the apex for it to cut properly. Basically, all you need to do is wipe this down. It's going to have a lot of oil on it from shipping, so we've taken this apart. We're just going to use a paper towel and wipe these down. You're going to want to wipe it down, clean it up, and you're going to want to wax it. So we're going to do the waxing part after we break these edges. So the first thing to do is you're going to want to get a vise. The reason we break the edges is so that we don't cut into the work. These are very sharp from the milling. So you're going to want to use a vise that has soft mount on it. You can put some leather on your vise if you don't have soft jaws. And I would normally do this in my bench vise, but since I'm doing it on video here in the leather shop, we're going to do it with this. So to break these edges all the way around, let me go ahead and even this edge up so we can get that with the file too. So we're going to loosen this and bring that out so it matches these edges. You can see that the paint also comes around, but if you feel this is pretty sharp in some spots. So what we don't want is that to dig into what we're working on. So you don't want to clamp it too hard, although this is not as brittle as cast iron. This is ductile iron, which is much harder. You're just going to use a standard flat file. You want to get a single edge file and a fine or semi-fine. And all you're going to do is take this file, and you can even do it sideways, and just run it down this edge. All we're doing is cutting a nice bevel on this edge. So you can do it this way that I'm doing it, or you can use the full cutting length of the file. You lay it up flat. You don't want to take too much off. All we're trying to do is break this edge so it's not super sharp. So just a couple of strokes there, and you'll be able to feel that kind of smooth over. You can come up here and get an intermittent, just sort of, we're just rounding this off, just barely. You can do the same thing across the front. Only takes a couple of strokes. And this bottom is, really flat. Like I said, you can tune these things to your heart's content, but for just getting a good experience on the first time out, this is all that I recommend. So we've broken the corners on this here. I suggest this on any of these. So we're done with that. Now we're just going to wipe all the oil off. So when it comes to you, it's covered with oil for shipping. You want to clean that off, and I suggest using just any kind of generalized cleaner. This is Simple Green concentrate at half and half, 50%. So the reason we want to clean this oil off really well is because we're going to wax these metal parts. And you want that wax to stick, and that'll help with corrosion, or preventing corrosion. So we'll go ahead and get the oils cleaned off of this. There's really nothing to clean under here, but you could just touch that up. And then we've got here the bedding surfaces. These are oily. The painted surfaces we don't need to worry too much about. They are already protected. Now we're going to wipe off all the metal. So now we've got this basically degreased. These are stainless steel, so we're not too worried about that. We're just mainly worried about the steel parts. So you can use any kind of car wax. I prefer to use a car paste wax. I don't have any on hand. Even this works. So like a wipe on, wipe off. And even your waxes that you use for woodworking. This is a Citrus Shield paste wax. So the paste wax for wood have a little more oil in them. You don't really need the oily ones, so the car ones work good. This one I believe is got some carnauba and beeswax in it, but it's also got some oils, which aren't going to hurt anything. It just takes a little longer for it to tack up. So you're just going to take this paste wax and we're going to coat all these metal surfaces with a paste wax. And they want to file those edges first because you can cut yourself on this, on these sharp edges. So that's why we took the sharp edges off. Now these more furniture waxes take a little bit longer to sort of dry, but we did get a coating on there. So we've got that. And we want to coat these bedding areas too. And this wax won't hurt with oil. We'll use some 3-in-1 when we're done to oil these surfaces a little bit. So we've waxed that up. We want to wax the blade. Be careful of the end here where it's sharp. And like I said, this is just first use. Real quick, getting these things set up. I'd seen a lot where they were really into detail about needing to sharpen. You don't really need to. We're going to strop it and get a nice polished edge. So these things work basically right out of the box. This is just maintenance that tells you to do it right here in the book. So until we get to stropping, it's already covered. So you're going to wait a few minutes for that to tack up, get a little wax, but for the sake of this video, we're going to go ahead and wipe it down. And if you use a car wax or even this wax, it's already going to create a coating. So we want to wipe down and just take that wax and wipe it off. And that's going to leave a very thin coating of wax on here. You could also take the throat plate out and wax underneath it. I'm not going to do that right now. The throat plate comes off by just unscrewing this. Actually, I'll go ahead and do it since I mentioned it. So unscrew the adjuster here. You can leave, let's see, that's got to come, does that have to come out? And this should just pop out. So while we're at it, we'll go ahead and clean this up. And we'll put some wax on it. And we'll want to do the same thing to the bedding area down here. And this will just help it slide and operate without getting oil on your projects that you're working on, your wood. This just creates some lubrication. Be really careful because these are very sharp in here. You do not want to relieve these edges. You want to keep those nice and sharp. Okay, so we'll go ahead and wipe off this blade. So just once you've waxed it, you can wipe the wax off. Doesn't hurt to clean that off, the threads, and I'll just use a little tiny bit of 3-in-1. And wipe off the wax from the bedding area, the frog seat, and let's clean that off. So that's the basic maintenance, or that it tells you that you get it to loosen up the cap and take it apart. The thing that I think people are missing, like I showed you that detail, this has got a burr. This has got a burr from the factory. So if you start to use this, that burr is going to roll and it's going to dull very rapidly. But you can actually see that there is, and feel it. I don't know if you can hear it. On your fingernail. So a lot of people go into, oh, you need to resharpen these, you need to flatten the back, you need to do a lot of things, and you may come across one that does have those types of issues. But from my experience with the number 4, I did this and it worked flawlessly out of the box. So I will go over that with the number 4. I'll do another video for that, but for this little block plane, we're going to go ahead and show you how to do it. So this is a strop. I have a video on how to make a strop and what materials to use. Basically it's leather. You just want a very, very, very hard leather that doesn't deflect. So this is actually horse butt strip, and this is extremely dense leather. It's much denser than your normal veg tan. You can use a veg tan, but I suggest you get a really hard compressed. It's not so much the thickness as it is the ability to not be able to distort the leather that helps you with a better strop. Also, your substrate should be very firm. Plywood is the best. Hardwood looks nice, but plywood is the most stable. So that's basically all there is to about a strop. Now we're going to take a strop. We've got the flesh side that we put compound on, and I'm just using this from Tormek. This is a 3 micron. You can use whatever you want, and you don't need a lot. So we're just going to put a little bit on here because this one's already been treated. It's been oiled prior to the first use. So this is all we're going to need, is just a little bit of fresh compound on here. And let me get another. So let me get a detailed picture of this before we do anything so we can see the difference. The edge has a minor burrs across it, and it's not polished. It's still got the grind marks from when they initially sharpen this blade. But this blade, those striations are not a big deal. If we can condition that tip, which is the part, the apex is all that's doing the cutting. Only the very tip, just a millimeter or less, fraction of a millimeter, is going to be what is actually doing the cutting. So that's what it looks like before. And normally when we, all we're going to do is we're going to lay this with the back side in the compound, and we're going to raise it just a hair, just a tiniest bit. And you don't even really need to. All we're trying to do is get a polish on just, you know, a fraction. So we've got about 4 or 5 times on the back, and that has started to polish that up. So all this is doing really is removing the burr and doing a polish on a micro bevel that doesn't even exist, but basically all the way down, it's, you know, it's creating that. So we're going to do the back side. That was about 5 or 6 strokes, and you can already see that that's starting to have a polish to it. So now you can see that little polished edge right there. So we'll do a couple more strokes. And you could lay this flat, but there's really no need to do a whole lot of flattening on a plane blade, because this plane blade sits with the bevel down, and this is going to be like 20, no, this is going to be bevel up on this one at a very low angle. So as you can see, when we place this down, it's really only touching right there at the tip. So that is what's going to actually be doing the cutting. So this sits in there just like this. So it's only that tip. So anything below that or right around that is going to give us the right relief. So I've just got this, you know, a little bit off here. All we're doing is trying to get that polish right there on the edge at the end. Okay, and then after we do that, we're going to do the same thing to the front, or to the beveled side. Now this, the same thing, same idea here is we don't need to polish this whole side here. All we need to do is polish this very tip. So we're going to lay it down, find that, and then raise it up slightly. Put a little more compound on this. You don't need much, but I just cleaned this recently, so it's not saturated. So find that bevel and then slightly up. In case we have any inconsistencies in this leather, because this strop has been used, I'm kind of changing angles and directions. So if I have any low spots, those are still getting all right. Okay, so we've done this with the compound, and I like to polish on the grain side. So we just turn the strop over. This has the grain side, or the part that you would normally see that's up on, you know, like finished leather goods. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to match that bevel, and all this is doing is just sort of refining that polish. It doesn't take a lot. And so all we've done is make that nice and polished on the end, and we've basically removed that burr. That's really all we're trying to do. So let's see if I can get a good picture of that. You can see that shine. So we're just going for the edge. You can see just that tiny edge is nice and smooth now, and that burr has been removed. Okay, so normally I don't like to do this, but I did this yesterday on video. But all we did was take this out of the box, waxed it, and then we went through it and stropped it. So that's the thing that they don't mention, is to take this burr off to get better performance. So coming from the factory without doing anything else to the edge other than stropping it, this is shaving sharp. That is crazy sharp. So we're going to reassemble this, but that's all you need to do to these planes to get them set up to have a really good experience the first time out. So we'll go ahead and wipe this down again. We're going to go ahead and reset the blade. The blade goes here. This is the adjuster for depth. And we're going to put the cap on it. You want this adjusted so it is not protruding from the bottom when you set your plane down. And we're going to go ahead and put the cap cover on. You just want to make sure that that bed's in here. It's got a little bit of slop back and forth. And we're going to go ahead and tighten this down. You don't want to over tighten it. You just want it snug enough so that you can still adjust it here, but it holds the blade in place. So we've reassembled it. Now, for the first use, we're going to do the first thing is we're going to sight down the plane. So you want a surface behind it that is uniform. Let's see if I can. So you want to sight down the bottom. As we sight down the bottom, you want to extend the blade until it shows as a shadow on the bottom. So I forgot to oil this, so we're going to put a little tiny bit of oil down here. Wipe off the excess. Okay, so we're going to sight down this, and we are going to adjust this adjustment to bring the blade just showing. So see that dark line there? That's what we're looking for. Just off the bottom. Probably get a better picture of that with the iPhone. So you want to sight down, and you can see right there, we have the blade is just a dark shadow across there. So that's extending too far, so we want to back this off. Sight back down it. Anytime you back it off, you want to go back in the other direction because there's slop in this. So it's not making any adjustments until this catches the blade. And you want, always when you end your adjustment, you want this to be going forward and tightening. All right, and I'm a little off cant here, so it's a little higher on this side than that side. So you just basically give it a little bump in that direction. And you want that blade to be even all the way across the bottom. You normally do this right before you're going to work with it. So I'm going to retract that just a tiny bit. And you can do this on the piece that you're working on by just slightly advancing it. And then you always want to finish tight, and then we're going to tighten that down. So we're good there. So now we want to adjust the mouth. Now this is going to be taking a very small cut. So what we're going to do is close the mouth on this. So you want it about twice the width of the thickness of shaving you're going to take. But that's the nice thing about this one, is it's easy to adjust because all you're doing is moving the front of the mouth, the back of the mouth. You can also look and see here that we're even across. And so it looks like I need to move this blade slightly. So right here, it's a little tighter on this side than this side. So I'm going to bump that blade over just a hair. And that looks about right. Okay, so when you go to tighten this up, you want this loose enough that you can adjust, but tight enough that it's not going to move the plane. So we'll go out to the shop and see how our tuning did. So you start without really any contact, and then we're going to advance the blade slightly. So we're taking small wispy cuts right now. That's what you get for using a blacksmith place. So working on a new workbench. So this is a white oak. It's very hard, and as you can see, this is working really well. So we're getting a nice full width curl. See if that come up this way so you can see it, like it's transparent. So right out of the box, with those minor setups, you have a perfectly functioning block plane. Thanks for watching. That's all you need to do to set up one of these block planes to get fantastic wisp curls. Thanks again. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see upcoming videos.